Most people have never heard that term, but it's called the World Revolutionary Movement. And basically it is the power, the political power, and the money, and the wherewithal to make things happen in the world that's behind all sides. The communists are being promoted, financed, organized, and directed by somebody, while the Nazis and Adolf Hitler was being financed and directed by somebody. And then you find out that the Mormon church becomes very powerful and a lot of money and prestige, and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Seventh-day Adventists and Scientology, all of the major religions in the world, somebody's financing them. Somebody knows what's going on, and it's not what you think. And so when you begin to see the major religious movements in the world, and Jehovah's Witnesses is one cult that I know about. I know things about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Most people will never be privy to know. For instance, I went out to dinner back in I don't know what it was, 67, 68, in Los Angeles. There was a big Jehovah's Witness convention, big one. And so three of the, what they call the governing body, the 12 men who sit in New York City, who govern the whole movement of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, three of them were there in Los Angeles, and I happened to be in their company with them. And my dear friend, a young friend my age, was part of family with one of them. So he got to go where his uncle, who was on the governing body. And since I was his close friend, he could always get me in to go. And so I went to dinner with the three members of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, just observing. Mm-hmm. When the conversation finally quieted down, I asked one of the members of the governing body, once a year you put out a yearbook telling the world what you've done and what you're doing and all that. And in the yearbook this year it says something to the effect that the Watchtower Society has paid out in salaries over $67 million, which does not account for all the money that they're buying land and property and printing presses and big properties in Europe and opening up big operations and printing operations in Asia and all that's all big money. But they said they had just paid out $67 million in just salaries alone for construction, for people who are doing things for them. That's a lot of money. And so I said to him, I'm aware of Jehovah's Witnesses in Los Angeles, and some of the wealthiest areas where Jehovah's Witnesses are, they tell me they're having problems just paying their rent. And so the Jehovah's Witnesses who are living in Beverly Hills or in these wealthy areas, but they're telling me that they're just because they're in a wealthy area, that doesn't mean they're filthy rich. And so they are having problems paying their rent and paying utilities and things. Right. And so I said, Jehovah's Witnesses are not known as being a wealthy, powerful organization. No. And yet they're buying properties all over the world. They're buying printing presses. That's not cheap. And they're paying out $67 million in just salaries alone. Where are you getting the money? That's what I'm. All the witnesses I know in wealthy areas here in LA, they don't have anything. They're struggling just to pay their bills like everybody else. There was a young man, young Greek boy, but he, I didn't realize, was the chief accountant for the Watchtower Bible Tract Society. He's the chief accountant. So where are the Jehovah's Witnesses getting this money? Mm-hmm. And he said to me, in front of everyone, he said, we have two corporate accounts. One is Chase, is the Chase Bank in New York, Rockefeller's Bank, and another one is the what is it in Philadelphia, J.P. Morgan Guarantee Trust. Back then, it was Morgan Guaranty Trust in Philadelphia and Rockefeller Bank in New York. And I said, so I said, explain that to me. He said that we have an open account with those two banks. And I said, what does that mean, open account? And he said, basically it means once a year they give us a checkbook. And whatever you write is covered. That's it. Very. And I said, you mean on the scale that Jehovah's Witness Watchtower spends money? They're writing out millions of dollars in checks and it's covered? Yeah, the administration of Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body, the New York headquarters. Well, when they write checks, those are big checks. Well, he just got through telling me that it's covered, don't worry about it. Whatever you write is covered. So I thought to myself, wait a minute. And I didn't say anything, but it struck me that Jehovah's Witnesses are always talking about this evil world and all these evil people and the bankers and the evil government. And yet it's the Rockefellers and J.P. Morgan that are financing you. Jehovah's Witnesses, like all the other York Rite religious systems, they're referred to as York Rite systems, are preparing the people around the world to accept a political establishment which is coming. And the political government which is coming, is not here quite yet, is going to be promoting that they are from God, is God's kingdom. And God is bringing a new, wonderful, new order to the world. It's called the New World Order. That's what it says in the Watchtower publications. Many, many times in Watchtower publications, it talks about the coming New World Order, in which the Lord himself, God, will oversee this new government, and there will be a wonderful new way to live, and no more war. It's all going to be wonderful, and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds are paying for it. And I thought, no, something's wrong here. So that was the beginning of my beginning to find out what's really going on here in the world. And now, today, it is my opinion that there is not one single religion, not a political or spiritual philosophy like Hindus or Buddhists. These are philosophical churches. All of those churches, synagogues, mosques, all of these different major institutions, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, are all corporations on the stock market. They're all corporations. Money.